How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. It's Monday morning, which means we look back on the games over the weekend, and there were wins for Man City, relegation for Burnley, and a win for Arsenal at Old Trafford.
Guys, welcome to DT's Daily. That's right.
So, of course, it's Monday morning, which means we get to look back on the games over the weekend. And listen, we're getting so close to the end of the season now, and this is where you find out where the winners and losers are, and there's going to be tears of joy and tears of sorrow. But we're going to start off with the first game on Saturday, and it was a comfortable win for Manchester City, 4-0 over Fulham. And the one thing I will say is, why did we even think that Fulham could do us any favours? They were absolutely dreadful, abysmal. The performance was crap. And Manchester City, they just go rolling on. And it does very much look like they are going to win 4 in a row, unless something happens in their final 2 games. But yeah, comfortable for them. And Fulham, they're already on the beach. Everton 1-0 winners against Sheffield United. A game that didn't really mean much, to be honest. Everton have already survived. Sheffield United are already relegated. So yeah, pretty straightforward one. West Ham 3-1 winners against Luton, and that has all but put Luton down. They do still have a mathematical chance of survival on the final day, but I feel they need to win by about 9 or 10 goals to make that happen. It's not gonna happen. So Luton, yeah, they are effectively down, albeit not mathematically at the moment. West Ham, they're kind of floating around those European places, but I feel it will be a little too late for them. And David Moyes, he goes out on his final home game, with a win. So that's good for him. Bournemouth losing 2-1 at home to Brentford. And again, this is a game that's not really got anything to play for other than places or anything else. Wolves against Crystal Palace, 3-1 win for Crystal Palace, in-form side at the moment. Very, very in form, in fact, and they're playing really well. And when you look at the race for the top 4, if Aston Villa do lose against Liverpool tonight, then they've got Crystal Palace in their final league game. And if Spurs can go and get a win against Manchester City, they play Sheffield United on the final game, they could sneak that top 4. So that's not all said and done just yet. Tottenham against Burnley, 2-1 win for Tottenham. A very late goal in that one. And the defeat for Burnley means that they are relegated from the Premier League. They are straight back down to the Championship. But Tottenham, they keep their hopes for top 4 alive. Newcastle against Brighton, 1-1 draw. That's not a great result for Newcastle when they're challenging, for those European places. And it's a game they would have hoped that they could have won. But yeah, it wasn't to be. And it's an interesting one because Brighton, their season's effectively been done for a while. They've been quite poor, and it's a decent point for them. But some interesting images, shall we say, at the end of the game was Bruno Guimaraes. I know you can read too much into players' reactions and the way they are, but it looked very much like a man that knows he's leaving Newcastle. It'd be interesting to see where he goes. Will it be Arsenal? Will it be outside of the Premier League? I don't know. But just looking at his body language and the way he was at the end, kind of had that I'm gone, look to it. So interesting. Nottingham Forest, they lost 3-2 to Chelsea. Chelsea have really put themselves in the mix for a European place. Forest actually went 2-1 ahead. Callum Hudson-Odoi against his former side with 10 minutes or so to go, and you thought, okay, that's another defeat for Chelsea. But they were able to turn that round with 2 quick-fire goals, Sterling and Jackson. And yeah, like I said, that really puts them in the mix for those European places. Only one game yesterday, and it, of course, was Manchester United against Arsenal. Arsenal winning this one 1-0. And it takes the race for the title down to the final game of the season. Liverpool are now out of it mathematically with the results over the weekend. So it's Arsenal versus Manchester City. Now, Man City do have a game in hand, which is ironically against Spurs on Tuesday. And if they draw that game, for example, it will go down to a final game showdown. Where who scores the most wins. Basically, at the moment, we are 3 ahead of Man City. So if they drew against Spurs, for example, and we beat Everton 1-0, let's say, Man City would have to beat West Ham 5-0. So yeah, I would say that if that was to happen, we would need more than 1 against Everton. Because I've got a feeling that, yeah, West Ham could easily lose 5-0 away at Man City. When you look at some of their recent results and whatnot, that's the result that you would look at and think that could easily happen. But if we won 3-0, Man City would have to win 7 and so on. But look, listen, we need to just see what happens in the Spurs game first. And what will be at the end of the day. It's in God's hands now. We've taken it all the way, and that's all we can do. I think that since the turn of the year in particular, we've been phenomenal. And to go on the kind of run we have and to probably not win the league when you've got the best defence and the most clean sheets and everything is a tough pill to swallow. But it sets us up for seasons, looking ahead. At the end of the day, we're only going to get stronger. We're only going to get better. And what I like about this team is that we learned from previous seasons. When we missed out on top 4, we learned, we come back stronger. When we missed out on the title last season, everyone said, okay, Arsenal can't handle a run-in. Arsenal can't handle the pressure of going against the likes of Man City in the final 10 games of a season. Well, this season, we've shown that we can change that around. When you look at the running as well, we've had the hardest, as everybody said, of the last 10 games or so. When you got Tottenham away and United away and City away and Brighton away was difficult. You got Wolves away that could potentially be difficult. Played an informed Bournemouth side. Chelsea, it's a London derby. Listen, we had a tough run-in, but we've answered the questions, bar that one game against Aston Villa, which may come back to haunt us. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, we move, and we're going to find out what happens with the final weeks of the season. Now, Premier League table, like I said, with that top 4, it's not done and dusted yet. Aston Villa playing Liverpool tonight. Newcastle currently in 6th place, Chelsea in 7th, and Manchester United in 8th. It's quite interesting when you look at some of those games, especially with Newcastle and Manchester United actually playing each other on Wednesday night. You wonder with that game, would it actually go ahead if it rains? Can Manchester United able to... mate, the images and the state of Old Trafford, man. If that happened 20 minutes or so before and the game was still going ahead, that would have probably got abandoned. It was absolutely shambolic. Their stadiums are shambles. It's absolutely awful. So that's going to be a big game Wednesday for those European places. Newcastle will be confident in a way, though, that they've got a 3-point cushion and their goal difference is far superior to Manchester United's. Manchester United are actually on minus goal difference. Chelsea, they could be the ones that sneak into that Europa place. away to Brighton on Wednesday, and then they finish their season at home to Bournemouth. So, yeah, that's going to be so interesting to see what happens. Manchester United, they finish their season away to Brighton. And Newcastle, they finish their season away to Brentford. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with those European places. Relegation, I think it's all but done now, like I said, with Luton. If Nottingham Forest were to lose 1-0, for example, on the final game, Luton would then have to win 11-0. Like, it's not going to happen, is it? Like, come on. So, yeah, it's pretty much it. It's just a title race, possible top 4, and then the European places. So, interesting, and we will see what happens. So, there we go. That is it for today's DT's Daily. As usual, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and I will see you a lot soon. I'm out of here.